So in a previous video, I did something weird. Usually in Vue, a child component communicates with its parent by emitting an event. The parent component can then choose to listen to that event and execute an action. However, more recently, instead of adding a listener for a potential dismiss event, I chose to pass in an onDismiss prop whose value was a function. Now, when this function is eventually called, it will set showAlert to false, which will hide the alert component. Now, rightly so, some of you found sending this prop a bit weird. Like, is there even a good reason to do this? Why not just use an event listener? The answer is yes, there is a good reason to use a function prop in this particular scenario. Let's take a look at the alert component code. Can you guess why I went with a prop instead of emitting a dismiss event? If your answer had to do something with this if, then you are correct. In Vue 3, there is no way to check for attached event listeners, but we can easily check prop values. What I wanted from this alert component is the moment the user passes an onDismiss prop function, the X button is displayed. Otherwise, if there is no onDismiss function, we hide it. The alternative would have been to emit a dismiss event. So here we would have emit dismiss. But then we also need something like a dismissible prop to check whether or not we should display the button. So here we would have dismissible. And this would be a Boolean prop. Now back here, we would have an onDismiss event listener. But then we also need to pass in dismissible. And here's our button. Now, my problem with this approach is that it's not only lengthier because now you have to pass in 2 props instead of just 1, but it's also more error prone because you might forget to add one or the other. So without a dismissible, there is no button. Without a dismiss event listener, there is a button, but it doesn't do anything. So the idea of using a function prop instead of an event listener was just so I can combine these two together. Generally, it's better to stay close to the guidelines of the language or framework you're using, but sometimes those guidelines can be broken, and this was just one of those times.